already know a ton of the locations we could use. And I was like what? And he's like, we could shut down the Bay Bridge. And like, that was it. Like, I didn't like at that point we were like, yes, like whatever. Like, even if all we do is drive across the Bay Bridge and then the video ends, like it'd be worth trying. It was a lot of fun. And I mean, it's San Francisco. Like, the location itself was amazing.
How in the world did you guys pull that off? Like, I remember
getting it all shut down.
I watched it and like I had goosebumps and like chills. I'm like, how is that real? Yeah. Like, that's something you do in like a Need for Speed video game,
right,
you know,
right.
and like it's the best thing ever. Like, you would never imagine doing it for real. And I called my dad and I had him come over and I was like, you have to watch this. This is the craziest thing ever. And then my dad was also blown away. He grew up in that area. And so, but yeah, as we were watching it, I was like, geez, like going down the Golden Gate, going like into the city and actually jumping and drifting. Like, you guys got permission to do everything and then actually did it. And it didn't feel commercial at all. Like, I guess just in general, how the heck did you do that?
So here's the backstory. So when we finished Gymkhana 3, which was the one we shot in France on the Auto Jerome, which was the one that had the banked wall.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Ken was like, I really want to go do like a city, right? And we had tried scouting Detroit. And in our head at the time, we thought, I mean, you know, it's 2011. Like, Detroit's in a pretty bad place. Right. And we thought, we're going to be able to go to Detroit and they're going to give us the keys to the city because, like, you know, there's nothing there right now. It felt abandoned, you know, and it's kind of before they
that would have been a cool vibe for a Gymkhana.
Before they rejuvenated the area. And the city just didn't want us there because they were like, we don't want you to show like the blight.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want you to paint this like a ghost town.
Right.
You know, and so in our head, we thought, wow, man, if we can't get Detroit to agree to do this, like, how are we going to get to do this anywhere else? And, so we ended up going to France instead, and we did that shoot there. So, you know, Gymkhana 5 comes around, and we're like, okay, we want to try to make a run at maybe doing a city again, but we were kind of striking out, and we found a location called Mare Island. So Mare Island, you probably know if you watch Mythbusters, because they did a bunch of their experiments on Mare Island. It's an old naval, I think it's naval. Like, they used to build Navy boats, so it must be naval. And they have like the dry docks and everything there. And, you know, it was an old sort of decommissioned base. And there was like a residential area, and then there was like the shipbuilding yard and just a bunch of cool stuff and these old cool pier buildings and everything. And we were like, oh, this is a cool location. Feels like the earlier Gymkhana 1, Gymkhana 2 vibes. This would be great. We went there and scouted it. And like, we walked around and it was pretty cool. But like, it just didn't feel special. When we're headed back into town, and the location scout who was in the vehicle with us, Ken was like, I don't know. Because you're like, oh, what do you think? What do you think? We're like, I don't know. It's just like not, like, it's cool, but like it's, and he's like, well, why don't we just film in San Francisco instead? I'm like, wait, what? Like, wait, that's an option?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you say that was an option? And he's like, oh, well, I was just scouting for the movie Avengers, and I just scouted San Francisco, but we're going to use Miami instead. So like, I already know a ton of the locations we could use. And I was like what? And he's like, we could shut down the Bay Bridge. And like, that was it. Like, I didn't like at that point we were like, yes, like whatever. Like, even if all we do is drive across the Bay Bridge and then the video ends, like, it'd be worth trying. So it started there. And like, you know, we tried to do Lombardi. They said no. So we found Vermont Street, I think is what it was called. And it was like a similar style kind of, you know, that switchbacking forth kind of road. And we were able to run up it. And then we just started kind of, you know, I think it was 3 or 4 scouts we did. Ken came on the first one. We found some of the major stuff. And then after that, it was like, all right, just keep digging through the city and just find all these stuffs. And we, you know, Russian Hill was where kind of like the big drift jump. And we did a bunch of different stuff in those areas. And it was just incredible. Like, we had the big Vallejo jump, which is like the tabletop jump. That was like the jump where you see Alcatraz in the background. One of the earlier shots.
Awesome.
You know, and that was one of those ones for Ken where he was like the shot that mattered so much to him was like the back shot with Alcatraz in the background, right? So the car's jumping, you see how high it is. And because we both came from skateboarding and snowboarding and BMX, like, it was so much about like, how do you tell a jump where it looks real.
Right.
Like it needs to show the coping, right?
Yep.
Like you need to be able to see where you took off from, but you also need to you need to make the shot feel real. You don't want to shoot from too low where it feels like you're trying to make the jump look too big, which is like what 90% of off-road does. Like you just need to make it feel real, but then also make it feel like big and expansive. And Ken worked like super hard on just that one shot. He was like, okay, that's the shot. I don't care whatever else you do. And then we had a bunch of GoPro trickery where we were doing like array shots, which at the time was really fun.
That was with the shot you were talking about earlier, the jump drift shot. That was with the GoPro thing where
so you started to go
that was super cool.
Yeah. And that was, that shot, by the way, we had no idea what the car was going to do. We had no idea. Ken ran it the first time and the car jumped maybe like 10 feet. It was kind of cool, but I was like, all right. I was like, well, we need to move the cameras back in again. And like, we just had a miscommunication because he didn't bother telling me he was going to like crank it up to 11. And he came the second time and just like blasted all the way out, like past camera. And it worked in the shot because you see the cameras chasing the car and then the car's sliding and like just about to hit the K-rail and just misses and goes. And I was like, you couldn't have scripted this.
Right.
And to me, the two greatest moments in Gymkhana history is that jump and the Evo corner.
Right.
Like those are those two moments where it could have been disastrous, but instead
it perfect.
Just was perfect. It couldn't have been better.
Right.
And those are my two moments. I was like, you lose composure behind the screen. I'm sitting there watching it in the van or on the Video Village, and you're like, like you break the role of being a director because you're just stoked for your friend. It like reminded me of like a friend landing a skateboard trick they like were trying for months.
Right.
It had that vibe.
But higher consequences. Because if you like crash a car into a wall, like this, like, especially like I guess cost wise and stuff, like you break yourself skateboarding and you can break yourself driving, but like you can't really damage property the way that you can with like driving a car in the middle of San Francisco like that.
I mean, I'm sure with skateboarding you could figure out a way to fall down a cliff, but
for sure.
It was pretty crazy. But no, I think it'll always be a super special time for me. It was still in those sort of salad days of what we were doing, in that like it just really felt fun and everything felt new, and it was like the amount of times, like every time the cops would come up, I was expecting them to be like, we didn't agree to this, go home. But they'd just come over and be like, that was cool. I'm like, what? Nice. Like what bizarro world do we live in? And then when we were done with that, and then when that film just crushed, I mean, the numbers, it was a perfect storm. I thought it was the best film we ever made. 2, Facebook and YouTube were still friends.
So Facebook, let you share it on
like you could share it on Facebook, and it was embedded. You could watch the video on Facebook, and this was when everyone was still on Facebook.
Good old days.
And it was really the good old days, right? Like the algorithm was just serving really good content instead of stuff that makes us all want to kill our neighbors.
Yeah.
But, it's like this was this thing. It was like, it just worked and it just clicked. And then after that, we had the power. Because then I would walk into cities and be like, San Francisco let us shut down their bridge. What are you doing? Like that was like, it became this thing where like there was nothing we couldn't ask for.
Right.
Right. And it was like, oh yeah, we're going to shut down the 105, 110 interchange in Los Angeles, which is one of the busiest like highway systems in the world. We're going to shut it down and we're going to slide it, and we're going to go on top of the Hollywood sign that is controlled by Homeland Security, and we're going to do donuts up there. Like, it was like, it was just all of these things. Like we felt that there was no longer a barrier for what we could ask for.
Was Ken giddy about it too? Like,
for sure.
When there's like, we shut down the bridge for you, was he like,
yeah. Well, so it's actually funny because I don't, looking back at it, we didn't have enough time to really do a trick on the bridge, right? Like we had a roll because we were holding back traffic. Yeah. And we were doing 8-minute intervals for filming. We had to do 3 runs. And because that bridge is one way, so you got to go off, turn around, go back on the bottom side. We would go to Treasure Island, go to the parking lot, turn around, wait for the closure, go back up and run it again.
Wow.
Right? So we had like staged and prepped the way that we were going to get out. So like the vans would pull up, camera operators would jump out, run to their position. We'd call action. Ken would walk up to the car. We did it in pieces. So we did the first piece. Ken walks up to the car. Did the second part. He pulls up to the starting line. And then third part, he does the ride out. And on one of the takes, I told Ken, I was like, you just have to throw a fucking donut. Like, I know it's not like planned,
Yeah.
but you just have to throw it because like you're on the bridge. Like why wouldn't you? So he throws this big donut on one of the takes. And in the film, it just didn't fit because we didn't have good coverage of it because we didn't have a camera guy there. Like we couldn't move cameras fast enough in the 8-minute interval. So it's actually part of the glitch that goes to the come sail away section where he's out on the barge. You'll see there's just a glitch of smoke coming up from the bridge.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's because I was like, we can't, because like I was fighting kind of like it has to make it in there somewhere. And he was like, I don't know, if you can figure out a way that it doesn't disturb the film, like go for it. And that was the thing, because I just thought it was so cool that like,
so we that's why you added the glitch is because you had that shot.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like why we put that in. Because we had that shot. I was like, how can we not put this out there?
Yeah,
right.
It was so perfect and like such a perfect way to tie in like the merch. I figured that was like planned from the get, but that was just
although even the barge wasn't planned.
Really?
No, so we were supposed to there's if anyone who lives or knows San Francisco, there's a right down like off Embarcadero, there's like a parking lot there next to Red Java, like coffee spot, and there's just this big massive empty parking lot, and it's for the cruise lines. And we were supposed to film there because you could see the Bay Bridge in the background. So like in our minds, like we start on the Bay Bridge and then you film this whole section and it ends with seeing the bridge in the background, right? Like it was just kind of like a nice connection to it. And we were supposed to use that for a scene and like before we went to Twin Peaks. Like Twin Peaks was always the end, but that was supposed to be the middle. And we were supposed to use that for a particular scene. And we go there like on the day and Norwegian Cruise Line has like shown up early and there's like 9,000 people disembarking from the boat.
Oh, shoot.
We're like, okay, well, that's not going to work. And the location guy was like, let me see what else I can find, blah, blah, blah. I'll see what I can do. And he was like, I got a barge. And I was like, okay. He's like, we could just strap the barge. Like we could connect the barge. So there's that scene where he jumps onto the barge. He does like the like small mini Gymkhana course on the barge and then jumps back out. And I said it jokingly. I was like, can we take the barge out to sea? He's like, I'll find out. And then sure enough, they were like, yeah, you rented the barge. Like you can do whatever you want with it. It's your barge.
So did you have to have like divers just in case the car went off?
So we had a scuba team. So we had a scuba team that was off the coast, like away, that was just waiting, like, you know, just in case Ken went off. And like he came pretty close at one point. Actually, I don't think I ever even have talked about this publicly, but the throttle got stuck at one point.
Jeez. On the barge.
On the barge. On the barge.
Of all places.
Yeah, and like the throttle got stuck and you hear Ken like clutching and then kills the engine because it was just like whipping super hard and he was trying to figure out what happened. We had like a little throttle stick. We've never had a throttle stick in that car. The one time it happens is when we're in like the deep sea on the way to the Golden Gate. And yeah, and like it was so that was like all got like I remember like, you know, coming up with the creative, like, what are we going to do? How's it all going to come together? Like, you know, putting it together. And those were in like, you know, we were doing it at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, like the day before we're shooting it and like putting it all together. And that was really fun. And I think it ended up becoming this like just ridiculous element to it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ken also had a second air in the car. I don't know if you guys know what second air is. It's like the small little cans of oxygen.
Oh, yeah.
We use them all the time. They're on any kind of Gymkhana shoot that we do that requires water. We put second air in the car, so that way if you are underwater and for some reason you can't get your harnesses off or you can't get out of the car, you can breathe until the scuba team come get you. Yeah, that makes sense. So like Travis, actually, if you look at Travis's his station wagon, we built the carbon door panel to have a built-in second air holder.
That's awesome.
Like it's not like it's like custom built into the door panel is the second air unit.
That car is one of my favorite cars in existence. The wagon.
Here's a hot take. I think it's a better build than the Hoonigan.
I like it better.
I think the Hoonigan's a cooler car.
Yeah.
Like the Hoonigan is just
it looks
but the actual level of work.
Oh yeah,
and they're close. Like these are two really amazing vehicles.
The two coolest cars ever.
But if you ever get a chance to really like look at that car, especially with the panels off, and you just realize the amount of like not just is it really well engineered, but the finishing touches are really good.
Yeah.
Like the amount of work they put into making the dash feel like what a dash felt like in like an 80s Subaru.
Well, that was my first car was an 86 Subaru Brat. So like the front section of it's all
like
the
a
same.
Brat guy, by the way. Like if it was like narrowed down what my first, like if you asked me that question, I'd be like Brat, AMC Eagle.
I've always liked those. Never had one,
maybe a
but
Samurai. I don't know, like something.
He does turn his head whenever he sees an Eagle. He's like, look, that's an AMC Eagle every time we're driving.
Yeah. Well, that was like when you came to Hoonigan, we started talking. I was like, yeah, we shouldn't be friends.
Yeah.
Because we just like too much of the same bad cars.